Hello everybody, March 24th, Tuesday, 2015. Look at that lighting. I took a few stills which I posted on Instagram. It's nice walking around here near sunset, especially when it's not freezing cold. And I thought I would take my quick walk of Cecil tonight before I head out to the in-laws to pick Addie up, who had an in-law vacation overnight. I thought I'd try and slam out one more of these videos. And I am really pleased with the Pipulate demo in Google Slides. I'm pleased on a whole variety of levels. First, I'm able to communicate what I've been trying to communicate, and believe me, it's not easy. There are many subtle distinctions being drawn here between what I'm trying to do and things you could write off very easily as no big deal or done before. I'm trying to create something that was genuinely not done before. And it's not just the one thing. It's not just free and open source SEO software that is Pipulate. It is also the Levinux virtual server that runs on any x86 desktop system, be it Mac, Windows, or some Linux such as Ubuntu. You can just double click one of these virtual machines and it runs, and it makes itself available as a server, a very generic Unix/Linux headless server that you can connect into through SSH using terminal software, or which can host websites and web services available from the host machine on its web browser and the address I chose is localhost 8888. So this is all kind of those dots that I'm talking about connecting in the Google Slides deck. I'm working on 5 or 6 different fronts simultaneously. Not only am I coding this Pipulate and Levinux thing, but I'm also keeping myself gainfully employed as a SEO director in a small digital marketing firm in New York City called Flying Point Digital. And even though the work I'm doing on Pipulate in particular, and Linux to a much lesser degree, does in fact benefit them, they're going to get stuff out of it when I start using Pipulate on client projects. A lot of dogs out tonight. I'm navigating my path. So it will benefit Flying Point Digital, but it does not belong to Flying Point Digital. It is something that I had created prior, that I had gone so far as to free and open source it on GitHub so that there would be no misunderstandings as to it existing in the free and open source world already. And now I'm sort of at the end of that journey. It's turning out to be about a 6-month journey from sitting down to start writing Pipulate to it being ready for use by the general public. And there's some question as to how I'm going to go about making that happen. And the answer, and this is the onus for this video in the first place, is I am going to practice what I preach. I'm going to pack a payload worthy of sharing. And that payload is known as the Levinux Pipulate combination, because it will be able to run on your desktop easily and be your own personal little server that you can play around with, use Pipulate on, experiment with coding if you like, and mess up as many times as you like because you can just reset it. So it's essentially a similar approach to if you were doing the same thing as what I just described, but using a Raspberry Pi to run your code with an SD card. And every time you mess up, you can just re-image your SD card. And it's like hitting the giant reset button. And it provides many of the same advantages as the virtual machine on your desktop approach. But it's more reliable, always there hardware that you can put on the back of your Wi-Fi router. You don't have to worry about whether your laptop was left open or not, essentially. And it also gives you direct experience with hardware, which is very important, and I keep repeating that point. You need to know that what you're doing, you could be doing on your own equipment, or else you're not really learning the important lessons. There's another alternative that some people advocate, which is starting out just using the cloud. So many people are making cloud infrastructure available to you as a service. You just get a server here, you provision it, you instantiate as many of them as you need, you pay for what you use, and you know, it's just like the ability to image entire systems like you have on your desktop with Levinux, or you have with SD cards with a Raspberry Pi, but you have it at kind of like a corporate scale level. So you could build anything out of it, and it feels a lot like you're using real hardware. And it feels like you're using real hardware because you're using infrastructure as a service, IaaS. It is using everything you learned on real hardware, and you have an intimate knowledge of what the heck your decisions mean, how much you're buying. You've got a pretty good image in your head of what the physical allocated resources of a quad-core CPU based on AMD architecture at such and such a speed, how much hardware you're getting for your money. And you could even, with your own personal hardware experience, build your own tiny data centers and you know, cloud servers essentially, so that you could use the OpenStack infrastructure that Rackspace uses, and whole cloud infrastructures that are defined through data and config files can essentially be just brought up under any generic home-hosted OpenStack cloud. There are so many ways to go with this that can be sliced and diced every which way. The important thing to maintain is a close enough connection to your hardware and operating system-like environment, and the basic Unix/Linux commands, be they the original ones from Unix or the Linux ones, or even be them BusyBox, the super small scale down version that's available in like a 500 megabyte, no, it's not 500 megabyte, it's 500 byte. Yeah, that's right. Half a floppy disk size of operating system replaces all of GNU Linux. And this might start to be something like technobabble here, but what I'm saying is that everything you're learning here is applicable to the Internet of Things to come, when microprocessors are built into everything, and no one's going to dedicate the resources to put a whole desktop system in there requiring some sort of point-and-click visual language to use the hardware. It's going to be like a serial port, like today's headless web servers, and a Raspberry Pi if you stripped away its awesome graphics capabilities, which is another issue. But to bring this thing back home, I am now soft launching Pipulate, and I am kind of banding together the initial community that's going to surround this free and open source project. And I'm going to smooth off the rough edges, make it as stable and awesome as possible, and make it run on just any generic Unix or Linux hardware. And so long as it has Python available to it and an internet connection, it's pretty likely to be suitable as a Pipulate server. And that's what this whole movement is going to be about. How to get this one killer app known as Pipulate running almost any conditions, whether you're on a Windows, Mac, or Linux machine, whether you're on a Raspberry Pi or a tiny embedded computer,
or on one of the clouds like Amazon or Rackspace, or anything that gives you a hardware and not platform. It gives you infrastructure and not platform. It's a whole discussion there. I'll save that for another video. But get an app running under diverse generic conditions, and you are future-proofed, always relevant. You'll always be able to do stuff in the information economy and be a very valuable knowledge worker. The samurai, the Jedi of a new generation, and my tiny little field in it is SEO. And stick with me and I'll bring you on an interesting adventure. Thanks for joining me. Hope to talk to you soon, and don't forget to subscribe.